Space Chasers is a graphic novel about middle grade students participating in an exclusive NASA program. When Tia Valor is selected for the program, she doubts herself, but eventually learns that she has the right stuff. Hi, I am Dan Skinner, and welcome to the Kids Bookshelf. Ahead, we'll explore the book, and I'll talk with the author about the inspiration behind it. Leland Melvin is an engineer, educator, author, former NASA astronaut, and NFL wide receiver. He served on board the space shuttle Atlantis and helped to construct the International Space Station. He led NASA Education and is dedicated to inspiring the next generation of explorers to pursue STEAM careers. As part of that effort, he joins us to talk about this middle-grade graphic novel that he authored. It's called Space Chasers. Leland, welcome to the Kids Bookshelf.
Thank you, Dan. It's great to be here.
Well, we want to talk about this book, but because you've had such an amazing career, I want to talk about that first. You know, you're a former astronaut, you played in the NFL, you're an engineer, and so many other things that we could talk about. So tell us a little bit about your career and how all these things kind of played into creating this book.
That's a great question, Dan. I started out as a kid at 5 years old watching the moon landing, but trying to watch it, but I was the antenna engineer holding the rabbit ears on the black and white Sylvania television set. My dad said, move your right arm down 30 degrees and don't stop. And I never saw the transmission of Neil and Buzz walking on the moon. And the next day when the kids came out to play astronaut, I don't want to be any of them. I wanted to be the tennis player, Arthur Ashe, who trained 5 blocks down the street from me. And so from getting non-OSHA certified chemistry sets and blowing my mother's living room up to playing football and sports and science and technology, I ended up on a track to be a scientist, a chemist in college. And I also played football at the University of Richmond, and then ended up getting drafted to play with the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys. And so it was this journey, this serendipitous journey all over the place that I just kind of went along with the interest that I had and the people that were around me helping inspire me and think about, hey, you'd be a great astronaut. This guy hands me an application. I look at it, I don't fill it out. And another friend of mine applies to that class, gets in. And I said, well, wait a minute. If that knucklehead can get in, I can get in too. So I apply the next selection and I get in. So it's kind of all over the place, but it ended up getting to this, point of flying in space and coming home and realizing that a lot of kids don't even think about going to space because either they don't have the parents or people around them that have got them on that pathway, or they don't believe in themselves, or they can't read, or so Space Chasers is a book that really helps all kids see themselves on that front cover with us around the cupola looking out at the planet. We're all there, even with my dogs. My dogs are in space with this one. And it lets them know that anyone, if you believe in yourself, if you take opportunities and have access, you can do anything you put your mind to.
And it seems like in some ways this is autobiographical because I'm sure when you were a kid, you never thought you'd end up on the space shuttle Atlantis and be building the International Space Station.
Never in my wildest dreams did I imagine me going to space and using a robotic arm made in Canada to add a Columbus laboratory from the European Space Agency to the International Space Station.
Tell us about this book and the main character here, Tia Valor, or Valor, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but she doesn't imagine herself in space either at the beginning of the book.
Yeah, Dan, she doesn't go to school much. Her home life is kind of chaotic because her parents aren't in her life, and she works as a mechanic at her brother's auto mechanic and body shop. And I go on a journey around the country to find these, incredible kids that maybe don't show that they're incredible from the standpoint of standardized tests that, we usually rate how good a kid is. But this experiential learning and the things that they can do outside of the classroom are the things that usually help us on the space station figure out how to solve problems in the real world. And so Tia is one of those kids that she fixes my old Porsche Carrera with a brass wire from a brush and she unclogs the injectors, and she's just brilliant. And so, but she doesn't, but the kids think that she's a grease monkey and it's dumb and all this stuff. So, there's bullying that goes on in this series and lots of other things where kids would, self-select or take themselves out of the selection for doing something like this. And that's why it's so critical for them to see themselves in this.
I'm talking with Leland Melvin about the middle grade graphic novel Space Chasers, and our conversation will continue. If you're enjoying this discussion, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. And thank you. Well, this book is part of your effort to encourage kids to get into STEAM professions. Tell us about why that mission is important to you.
Dan, the STEAM professions, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, is really what fuels our world and our economy. And when you think about these jobs, when we're designing a space station, someone is looking at, how do we prepare the food, which is the culinary arts or the arts and language arts. We have Russian, French, German, all these languages that are on the space station, and then the mathematics. And so all of these things in STEAM are what these kids are doing. Andy, she's an artist. Indira's an astrophysicist. Bradley likes science and math. And I'm in there, playing football and math and science. And so I think it shows what's needed to do these technical jobs.
Well, in this book, not only are you the author, but you're a featured character in the book. So I wonder what that was kind of like for you as another thing in your experience list to be represented as a cartoon character in a graphic novel.
Right. My mother read to me every night The Little Engine That Could and Curious George. And the thing about Curious George is that he always had the man in the yellow hat, no matter what trouble he got into, that had his back. And so I'm kind of like the man in the yellow hat for these kids to help them get through, not believing in themselves, getting through the training, working together as a team. And I think, you need someone like that that's critical to helping them rise and develop together as a great team.
Well, not to give any spoilers from the book, but Tia, she starts out, she doesn't really have confidence in herself. She doesn't even, really kind of believe she belongs here with all these other kids. But ultimately, we won't say why, but ultimately she discovers she has the right stuff.
Exactly. And that's the biggest lesson, I think, that I want the kids to get out of this book is no matter where you are in your educational journey or your life journey, with access, with opportunity, and believing in yourself, it is possible for you to do great things. And Tia, she helped save the day in space. No spoilers there. But, and the other kids depend on her. And I think that's what happens in every book in the series. There's one kid that the book, has to be the leader and kind of shines.
Now, you mentioned this is going to be a series. So can you tease us about what's going to happen in the next book?
So yesterday I was in Clifton, New Jersey with Joe, who's my co-writer, and he keeps telling me no spoiler alerts. So there is a moon involved and a Martian surface involved, so I can at least tell you that.
Okay, well, that'll tease us a little bit. So you mentioned you have a co-writer. There's obviously an illustrator involved. So tell us about sort of that team that you have and how you work together.
Yeah, we started pre-COVID, and there were a lot of email streams back and forth, and Joe and I would talk. He walks in the morning with his iPad, and so I'm calling him, and he's writing while he's walking in a mall, and it's just kind of weird. But we established this really great cadence of how to get the information out of my head from what I wanted this to be about, and how he helped formulate the characters, Tia and Bradley and Indira, and it was just a great fit. And then Allison Acton came along, and she started doing the illustrations, and so we brought her into that fold where we would, sorry about my voice, I was screaming a little bit too much with the Super Bowl last night. But she came in, and then we had this great cadence of, we would, make some art, and then she would, illustrate it. And it was just really beautiful how it all came together. So I'm really excited about it, but I'm also really proud of the product that came out, because I think kids will see themselves in this book.
You point out that one of the reasons you're doing this is because you want to encourage kids to pursue those STEAM professions. But what is it about kind of talking to kids in general? What do you think is enjoyable? What do you enjoy about this process and reaching this audience?
I went around on a speaking tour, and I've been to a number of schools. And the first thing that I show them is that when I was their age, I was on a skateboard, and I built the skateboard myself because we didn't have the money to buy one. And so I'm telling them that if there's something that you want or something you want to do, you can use your brain and figure it out and be creative on finding a solution to the things that you want. And the other thing is to really believe that, that you are on this earth to do something great, and that with the right people around you, with the right things in your path, you can do it. And like the little engine that could, that my mother read to me every night, I think I can, is something that I want them to know, that they can do it.
The middle grade graphic novel is Space Chasers by Leland Melvin. Leland, thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you so much, and thanks for getting the message out about Space Chasers.
If you'd like to purchase Space Chasers, I've placed a link for you in the description below. If you enjoyed this conversation, please subscribe, like, and click on the bell so you know when I post new interviews. Meanwhile, here are 2 more books you might find interesting. Well, thank you for watching this edition of the Kids Bookshelf. I'm Dan Skinner. Until next time, keep sharing the gift of reading.